Hello, everyone, and welcome. My name is Sophia Wardell, and today we have a very special guest, romance author Susan Gooch. Susan Gooch is the author of the political romance novel, The Carrington Affairs. As a passionate educator, she has spent well over 20 years teaching kids to love reading and writing. Thanks for joining us today, Susan.
Thank you for having me. I'm so excited.
We're so happy to have you here. And today I want to discuss writing a political romance novel with you. So, The Carrington Affairs is a unique blend of politics and romance. How can an author effectively blend these two genres?
Well, in my opinion, they're both about passion.
Mm,
So if you're going to be really a politician, you need to be passionate about what you're doing. And Bennett is so passionate about that. His whole life was geared to that. He has been in training, if you will, since birth for that
right.
life. And then of course the romance is all about passion.
Right. So it really it's around the same sort of emotional theme, which is it's
It
a great
is.
that's
It is
great.
emotional, and they have to really. All of my characters love from a deep place. They all that for him, he is so committed to really making Arkansas a wonderful place to live, and he's really committed to his community. And so is his wife and Taylor, who at the beginning of the novel he's married to, and they're really a political couple, but they're
Mm.
not a romantic couple. That's why it's called the Carrington Affairs, because passion will drive them apart and then will drive them to the people they need to be with.
And so how did you balance the political elements within the romantic storyline in the Carrington Affairs?
Well, I want to be very clear. I don't pick a political party. This is not about pushing a political agenda at all. This is more of the idea that um, when we when people go into politics, I still believe that most people go in for the right reasons. They go into it to make the world a better place,
Mm.
to be the change that they want to see in the world. And I was very inspired by my daughter's friends that went to the Clinton School here in Arkansas for administration, and just seeing the nonprofits and the things they work for, and their motivation is so pure and so passionate about making the world better. And so for me, that political part is Ben, and that's what he wants to do. Um, and Taylor as well. They want to promote that. Um, but also in our little town, we have a former governor that lives here. We have lots of people that run for office here in Searcy. And so for us, I see that on a daily basis. My neighbor right around the corner is one of the former governors of Arkansas. And so
Mm.
I think that's just part of our life. We do fundraisers and we do those things, and that's all part of life in Searcy.
Now, that's an interesting point about the smallness of the town and the connectedness. When you were writing this romance set against a small town political backdrop, were there certain challenges that you faced or that you think an author would face when doing a similar venture? And how did you overcome yours?
Well, first of all, because I do live here and I've just retired. I was a teacher in our school district for 23 years. I had to really balance more the passionate, steamy side of the novel with what I was putting out there,
Mm.
because I knew that, people, oh, that's Miss Gooch. That was my teacher. I can't believe she wrote this book. And I actually have had people say that to me. And I know that they've read much steamier novels than mine, but it's sort of like it's your teacher. And you know how we put our teachers in the classroom forever. So that for me was probably my biggest challenge, was to tell an honest story about real passion and people who really are authentic but are making mistakes. Like, again, having an affair. In a small town, that's a big deal, especially if
Mm.
you're a politician. And how are you going to
Right.
control them? And even here in my little town, there is a network of people, and they will hunker down, and they will protect you, or they will blow you wide open. And so, I think we're very protective of our community people here. We're very connected in that way.
That's interesting. And on that note of just the closeness, how did you use this setting that you're so familiar with to help you build a believable and accurate novel? Did you go discuss things with people or do a little more town research?
Well, having been a teacher here, having lived here, I was also a gifted and talented teacher. And one of the projects that my kids did was the history of Cersei. So I was able to, guide and facilitate them through that knowledge and that learning. So I learned a lot about Cersei that way. But even more importantly, it's just being so connected into the community, being part of the fundraisers. In the book, there's a sleigh ride soiree that's been in my house for years. I've hosted that with 300 people doing fundraisers for kids in foster care, kids in Hope Cottage, which is a place where children and women can go if they're being battered. So, a lot of the stuff that I put in there, I always believe you write what you know. I know small town life. I know what it's like to live here in Searcy. And so I just tried to tell an authentic story that allowed that to happen.
And on that note of just tropes, what romantic tropes have you found to be most powerful in your own writing? And what tropes would you recommend that an author starting out in this genre should look toward?
Oh, that's a great question. For me, I have read, as I'm sure everybody watching has, I've read thousands and thousands of books, novels, romance novels. And I kind of like everything. I kind of call myself the bipolar reader because I like Accidental Baby. I like Small Town. I like The Billionaire. I like The Doctor. I like Friends to Enemies, Brother's Best Friend. I like all of those. And for me, what pulls me in is not necessarily the trope, but again, I keep going back to passion. I just think passion fuels these books. I read one this morning, and I'm sure your readers do this. I'm a 2 to 4 in the morning reader, and so the book I read this morning, it was about a dog who this rich lady leaves her company to this dog, and how she has to overcome it. And it was just like I would have never looked up a book about a dog.
Right.
But now I think I'll probably try to find another one because it was just so good.
Yeah, that's great. Well, Susan, thank you so much. That was wonderful insight on writing a political romance novel.
Thank you. Thank you for letting me talk about it. And listen, please, readers, go out there. We're on Amazon, and it's called The Carrington Affairs by Susan Gooch. Please go out there. We've got Kindle, we've got Audible. You can follow me on Instagram. You can follow me on Facebook, Susan Gooch, the author. So please, I'd love to hear from you. And please go out and get the book, look at it, and tell me what you think. I'd love to know.
That's all the time we have for today. Thank you, everyone, for tuning in to today's interview with romance author Susan Gooch. Be sure to check out our website for more videos. Wishing you all a fulfilling and successful writing journey.